years. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Obama administration's facing renewed criticism over its refusal to push for a public option under health care reform. President Obama admitted the public option from a health care proposal unveiled ahead of tomorrow's bipartisan health care summit. On Tuesday, White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs said there isn't enough political support to pass a public option through Congress.
We have seen, obviously, and I talked about this some yesterday, that though there are some that are supportive of this, there isn't enough political support in a majority to get this through. The president wanted to took the Senate bill as the base and looks forward to discussing consensus.
23 Democratic senators have publicly signed on to supporting a public option, and the White House has been criticized for not attempting to secure the 50 votes needed for simple majority approval through budget reconciliation. Toyota's top U.S. executive has acknowledged he's unsure if his company has addressed the mechanical problems that led to the recall of millions of vehicles. Speaking before the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Jim Lentz said he can't guarantee the recall process will fix the unintended acceleration issues found in Toyota cars. Lentz also publicly apologized to Toyota customers.
In recent months, we've not lived up to our high standards. Our customers and the public have come to expect from Toyota. Put simply, it's taken us too long to come to grips with a rare but serious set of safety issues, despite all of our good faith efforts. The problem has also been compounded by our poor communications within our company and with regulators and consumers.
The hearing also heard from Toyota owner Rhonda Smith, whose car once sped up to 100 miles an hour even though she'd applied the emergency brake. Smith criticized both Toyota and federal regulators.
And today, I must say, shame on you, Toyota, for being so greedy, and shame on you, NHTSA, for not doing your job.
Toyota President Akio Toyoda is scheduled to testify at a House Oversight and Government Reform Committee later today. New figures show bonuses at Wall Street securities firms rose 17% last year to $20.3 billion. The New York State Comptroller's Office says untallied profits at those firms are on pace to reach $55 billion for 2009, 3 times the previous record. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation says bank loans have seen their largest decline since the 1940s. On Tuesday, FDIC Chair Sheila Bair said banks reduced lending by $587 billion, or 7.5% in 2009. Bair singled out major large banks for the decline, urging them, quote, to do a better job of stepping up to the plate. The FDIC also says over 700 banks were deemed at risk of failure as of the end of 2009. More than double the number 1 year ago and the most since 1993. New figures, meanwhile, show major financial firms have begun shifting campaign donations to Republicans as Democrats have increasingly pushed regulatory legislation of Wall Street. According to the Center for Responsive Politics, the securities and investment industry went from giving 2-to-1 to Democrats at the start of 2009 to donating almost equal amounts to Republicans by year's end. Latin American and Caribbean nations have agreed to form a new regional body, excluding the United States and Canada. On Tuesday, leaders gathered in Mexico backed calls to form an alternative to the Organization of American States. Cuban President Raul Castro said the move would aid regional integration.
Cuba proposes that conditions are set to advance quickly the constitution of a purely Latin American and Caribbean regional organization that would be formed and would represent the 33 independent countries of Latin America and the Caribbean.
In news from Cuba, a leading opponent of the Cuban government has died after a lengthy hunger strike. Orlando Zapata Tamayo had refused to eat for 85 days to protest what he called inhumane jail conditions. Amnesty International had declared him a prisoner of conscience. He'd been jailed since 2003. The Senate Armed Services Committee is holding a hearing today on the private military firm Blackwater's operations in Afghanistan. On the eve of the hearing, the committee released findings showing Blackwater seized hundreds of U.S.-supplied weapons intended for the Afghan army. A Blackwater official allegedly signed for the weapons at a U.S. weapons bunker by using the name of a cartoon character. The weapons ended up in the hands of 4 Blackwater employees who fired on an Afghan vehicle while under the influence of alcohol in May 2009. 2 Afghan civilians were wounded in that attack. In Israel and the occupied territories, the Israeli government has outraged Palestinians over a decision to include 2 biblical tombs in Palestinian towns on a list of Israeli heritage sites. The move sparked clashes in Hebron, where Israeli soldiers fired tear gas and stun grenades at Palestinian protesters. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has warned Israel's actions could spark what he called, quote, a religious war. Palestinian Public Works Minister Mohammed Shtaya also criticized Israel.
This government led by Netanyahu is proving to the world and to us that it's not interested in the peace process and ethics, but is interested in building settlements and confiscating the Palestinian history. This is a fabrication and confiscation of history.
In Pennsylvania, audio footage has surfaced of a computer technician discussing the software used by a suburban Philadelphia school district to monitor its students through school-provided computers. The Lower Merion School District issued Apple laptops with webcams to all 2,300 students at its 2 high schools, but students were never informed the school had the ability to remotely activate the laptop cameras. School officials say the cameras were remotely activated to find missing or stolen laptops. In an audio recording apparently intended for other software technicians, school district employee Mike Perbix discusses how the technology works.
As soon as the computer gets put on a network outside your home network, the heartbeat tries to come in to your existing LandRev server. And once it establishes that connection, it gets told, hey, computer tracking is turned on. And then that computer will start sending back at regular intervals, will start sending back screenshots. And if you have a built-in eyesight camera, it will start sending in camera shots.
Perbix went on to praise the software's use in monitoring students.
It's an excellent feature. Yes, we have used it, and yes, it has gleaned some results for us. But it in and of itself is just a fantastic feature for trying to, especially when you're in a school environment and you have a lot of laptops and you're worried about, laptops getting up and missing. I've actually had some laptops we thought were stolen, which actually were still in a classroom because they were misplaced. And by the time we found out they were back, I had to turn the tracking off, and I had, good 20 snapshots of the teacher and students using the machines in the classroom.
The family of a student targeted by the monitoring has filed a federal lawsuit against the Lower Merion District. The student, Blake Robbins, had his webcam activated after the school mistook his eating of candy, Mike and Ike's candy, for the consumption of drugs. Both the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office for Eastern Pennsylvania say they're investigating. And a correction to a headline from Tuesday's broadcast. Several media outlets reported a U.S. death toll in Afghanistan of 1,000 based on figures from the website iCasualties.org. But the website's tally includes fatalities from U.S. military operations outside Afghanistan as well. According to iCasualties, the U.S. death toll in Afghanistan is actually at about 926. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.